hundreds of UAW workers around here as they're getting ready to make their final votes on this tentative agreement today. Likely caps off with a big celebration with President Biden here in just a couple minutes. Yeah. There is at least one person dead. We know that this was a stabbing incident, and we know that there are a lot of moving parts. Very rarely do we hear of a scene so early in the afternoon, and still know so little this late into the afternoon, going into the evening even. Yeah, Brittany, still a very active scene out here tonight. We did talk to Stephenson County Sheriff's Department, but first I'm going to step out of the way here so our photographer TJ Whitmer can give you another look here, still at this smoldering house. Now we're moving inside the school now. The shooter, Matthew Milby, you're about to see run onto your screen here, holding an Uzi as he runs out the door there. Mark Dallas following shortly behind here. As you can see him here, he ran outside the school, shot, and then arrested Matthew Milby. Sheriff Caruana said that there is planning to be a conclusion to this missing persons case connected to the car found today, but it's going to take some time to investigate that. We're going to lay out those steps for you tonight on 13 News at 10. About how important it was to look at Rock Island County as well as Winnebago County. We'll look there in just a moment, but a very strong margin here in Rock Island County, especially considering that that is Scott Kroll's home territory. Well, Brittany, what happens tonight, it kind of feels like a loaded question because it all depends on who you ask. Now, supporters of this labor agreement, they would tell you they made a move to protect the city and the unions at the same time, just trying to get a better deal. Yes, the other side, they say tonight likely killed that deal, which could have changed Southwest Rockford forever. Marta Esquivas' family has sued the city in Holland for wrongful death. As 13 investigates looked over that lawsuit, it's clear that the war in the courtroom could come down to who had the green light. Tense is definitely the right word here. As I step around here, this is the overflow here at Rockford City Council. The second floor completely packed with people, and that is because there is a big labor discussion on the table tonight. The question is how? How in the face of Dixon history and the prevalence of school shootings across our country did a team of 911 operators stay calm in the face of chaos? As 13 Investigates found out, it was all about asking the right questions.
Dixon Police Department.
A call to the Lee County 911 Center started normally, but the caller soon gave a message communities dread.
There's a shooter inside the high school. He shot multiple students inside the bathroom at Dixon High School today.
It's a call that caused massive responses across the state line and put kids and families into a panic. But before the people in this building got the call, they were already preparing.
So the telecommunicators had actually overheard chatter on the state frequency about a similar situation up in Freeport, or an active shooter up in Freeport. So they were listening to that.
I was teaching the classes. During the lesson time, the student had a gun, shot another student.
The caller, claiming he's a teacher, doesn't know it, but he's given the operator the key piece of information that led her to ask this.
Okay, can I ask you something?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, are they doing regular classes today?
Yes.
The trap was sprung. This telecommunicator has kids at Dixon High School and knew that the day was not a normal schedule. That's because her kids were taking the SATs.
Okay, but they're not doing regular classes there today because I know because my daughter goes there.
And before you know it, the caller hangs up. While the search is ongoing for who is responsible for these swatting calls in Illinois, there is certainty that this team of emergency operators made sure what could have been a traumatic day was just an average day of school.
I actually have a freshman son at Dixon High School, and he did not know anything happened that day.
Definitely a great response from them. Dixon and Lee County are now working with ISP and the FBI to track down who placed these fake calls for help. If you want to listen to that entire call, I'm going to have it live on our website, WREX.com, in just a few. Brittany, every year we like to take a look back at a house that we've featured in previous seasons. And this year we were visiting a house we saw all the way back in 2020. Brittany, it was the third house I ever featured on this. And you know what? 3 years after that, and more than 20 years after the bank has started decorating, they continued to let family and charity light the way.
This year's 24 years that we've been at Cherry Valley. Next year we are celebrating the 25th anniversary.
The Banka family has always had a love for Christmas and the holiday season, but until they came here to the state line, they didn't have the space to celebrate quite like this.
When we moved out here, we got a corner lot, which we didn't have back in Cicero and whatnot. So we were able to put up a lot more decorations.
Needless to say, they make the most of the space, and for 20 years, Bob and Sherry Banka have invited their family and friends to celebrate the season and be merry.
We actually pull out a little box out here. It's naturally not connected. And I'm inside, and I have one of my in-laws down in the basement. There's 2 switches that turn all the lights on. So when he counts it down, he hits the switch, we turn the lights on.
1, 2, 3.
While there's some cheeky fun in how the bank has flipped the switch on their lights, they view it as a time to say thank you and spend time with the people they love. Because Bob and Sherry know this doesn't happen without their kids, grandkids, and neighbors. I think in the past, you always called them your little elves,
Yes.
right?
Now there are big elves.
Oh, big elves.
But our grandkids are our little elves.
Yeah, we got 2 grandkids, and they help out quite a bit also. And I got to say, right now, if it wasn't for my kids, this would never happen. This is definitely a family thing.
Because it was those big elves who inspired Bankit to add another thing to this display.
Rockford Register Star ran a contest, and we won it. They gave us $150, which was donated between 2 families for Rockford Meld. So from that point on, my daughters come up after, they say, why don't we put a box up every year, and we're going to have all these do that. So that's what's happened.
Which is why 20 years later, there is still a box collecting money for state line charities at the Bankit household. Their lights are a full package that shine, twinkle, and soar in holiday spirit. One might even call it a shining example of what a family working together can do.
I just enjoy it. People go by here and say, "Oh, thanks, you did a great job," and I say, "Yeah, if it wasn't for the kids, it wouldn't happen." Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas!
Yes, but the bigger issue as I dug into this story was that while we can debate what services we need more of, the biggest issue people here in the state line have with the current state of mental health is how state insurance takes certain treatment options from some to almost none.
So when you're told that you can't have the services that are the residential, it doesn't make sense why they would be able to see you every week but then not see you for the more intensive things. So then you're sent out of state, like I said, or out of city, and that's how are parents supposed to be able to do that, especially if they're on a fixed income or single families?
Britt Cotton has traveled miles on an exhausting road to mental health care. She's already lost 1 child to suicide, and even though she's fought every day to get her daughter the services she needs, all she has to show for it right now is pain and frustration.
It's looked like over 10 hospitalizations since the beginning of 2020 and 2 residencies. And just waiting in between and hoping that things go okay, and sometimes it not being okay.
The struggle is to find inpatient residential service close to home in Rockford. But with their state insurance, she says even staying in the state feels like a lost cause.
The state itself of Illinois is pretty much, if you're on state insurance, you're really not going to get in unless you do the FSP grant.
An FSP grant is an added step where families can get access to residential care and other behavioral health services, but Cotton says the application process puts way too much stress on parents.
You're going to be looking into getting a psychological eval yourself, and it's not comprehensive. You don't have help through it. They're not telling you exactly what tests need done, what tests don't need done.
People experienced with mental health in our area say the process and massive wait lists are forcing families out of the state.
Probably at least 2 to 3 times a month, I'm getting calls about somebody that needs to get inpatient, and they're getting shipped off to Chicago or they're getting shipped off to Wisconsin, and they're like, why is there no place here that can help my child?
And for parents who go through that grant application, well, they can count on a lengthy wait.
People typically have to go through an application process to ensure that they truly need the care. And it can take Medicaid 3 to 6 months, sometimes even longer, to approve that.
Wait times, Britt Cotton says, put her child in danger.
Like many, many nights of tears and just a constant fear that you'll wake up and that person will not be there the next day.
And it's not just Cotton. NAMI, Marshmallows Hope, and Rosecrans say there's an overwhelming amount of people on state insurance who are struggling to find help. Just like a rough percentage, how many of those people are using state insurance like Medicaid?
That are reaching out to us?
Yeah.
I would say 85+%.
Well, so 90% of the clients that we see here through Marshmallows have Medicaid insurance.
The issue is that the need is great for those that have state insurance. And the workforce hasn't grown to meet those needs.
The good news for people like Cotton is that there is some progress. On Wednesday, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker said he would try to end what's called prior authorization for insurance companies. The quick version of prior authorization is that insurance companies can require doctors to prove the patient needs the care and often use this process to try to deny coverage. In recent years, insurance companies have expanded the use of prior authorization, making patients wait months for care when minutes matter.
Means patients suffering a mental health crisis can get the care they need without jumping through hoops designed to deny coverage. And we're going to make sure that insurance plans publicly post all treatments that require prior authorization so consumers can compare plans when they're shopping for coverage.
And as for Medicaid and residential health care, Laura Kane with Marshmallow's Hope says talks are going in the right direction for better access and turnaround times.
I have been working directly with one of the representatives from Medicaid who has, given explicit detail of what changes are happening and what changes are coming. And they are acceptable. They are actually trying to fund more initiatives.
But a timeline for when these changes are a reality for people like Cotton remains up in the air. And I have been in talks with Medicaid throughout the entire day trying to get answers about these potential changes. All they had to say to us is that there are avenues through the state insurance to get residential care, though you just heard that doesn't always come easy. So as you also heard, they did not comment as to how long this exhaustive process takes, though you heard some commentary there from Britt Cotton.
Yeah, and no matter when or if they make changes, people like Britt Cotton say they've had enough. She plans to move out of the state in the coming months to a state with better mental health care.